Hey guys. So in the summer of 1993, I joined a band with some guys from my hometown of Fayetteville, Georgia. And the cool thing about joining this band was, unlike all of the bands I had played in before then, first of all, these guys kind of knew how to play their instruments. So that was a big step up. And secondly, this band had sort of morphed out of another band, which was called Grandpa's Muffin Shop, which is a pretty good band name, right? But the cool thing about Grandpa's Muffin Shop is that they had played a show. So, that was a huge step up. So these guys had stage experience. So in our the first time I practiced with them, I asked them if that was still the name of the band, and they were like, well, no, we had some members change over, and, you're joining the band, so we've changed the name to Round Ear Spock. This is the stupidest band name I have ever heard in my life. Like, Moist Offensive is a better band name than Round Ear Spock, right? Even as a teenager, I was sort of embarrassed when people would ask me what the name of the band was. But whatever. So we played kind of popish punk rock like a million other bands in the 90s played. And we had a rule that we were not allowed to take any of it seriously. So we would rehearse, and we wanted to sound good, and we put on a good show. But beyond that, it was just a huge joke to us. So all of the songs were about stupid things. Like we had a song about Mr. T, a lot of inside jokes. We had songs about places we'd never been, like Cleveland and Maine, and we would just make stuff up. We had a song called Mopping Sucks. We had a song called College Sucks. We had a song called History Sucks. But we also had a song called Mashed Potatoes Rule, so it wasn't all negative. And if you'll permit me to read for a moment, I would like to share with you some of the lyrics to Mashed Potatoes Rule by Round Ear Spock. After I have whacked the weeds, practiced up on my Chinese, smuggled Haitian refugees, I feel like dying. After I'm through making keys, raising termites on my knees, driving semis, hauling cheese, I feel like crying. And then it went on extolling the restorative properties of mashed potatoes for a couple of minutes. This is the kind of thing we did. It was a huge goof. We had a ton of fun doing it. And we sort of settled in at this club in Atlanta called the Somber Reptile, which was a shithole. But it became sort of ground zero for the Atlanta area punk scene. And a weird thing started happening. We kind of got good. And people started coming to our shows. Like people we didn't even know were showing up to see us, right? That was a big step forward. So we recorded a tape. This is in the 90s. We recorded a tape. And it was called 6666 Extra Evil. And just as a side note, my mom, when she found that out, was legitimately upset. She did not see the humor in it at all. I don't know if she thought we were really worshiping Satan or what, but she was not happy about it. But people bought the tape. We sold a couple hundred of them at shows and stuff. And then we started getting booked to open for nationally touring bands. So we opened for the Vandals and the Queers and the Smoking Popes and the Pink Lincolns. Basically, any band that started with "the" that came through Atlanta, we were going to be there opening. And I can see this crowd. I know you guys don't know who those bands are. That's okay, right? But if you were a punk fan in the 90s, you would know who those bands were. And so for me as a teenager to get to open up for these bands that I practically idolized, it was incredible. And so at this point in my life, I sincerely thought I was going to be a rock star. It was just a matter of time. I remember sitting in the counselor's office in my senior year of high school with Mr. Coffin, my counselor, and he asked me what my plans for the future were, and I was like, well, I'm in a band, so after I get done with this high school thing, I'll be a professional musician. And he was like, okay, but if that doesn't work out, you probably should have a backup plan. So I reluctantly applied to colleges, I'll humor Mr. Coffin, but I was certain that I was going to be a rock star, right? So every other month or so, we would host these punk fests at the club we played at, the Somber Reptile, where we would get all of the local bands from the Atlanta area to play. Shows would start at 3 o'clock, and they would go all day long. We'd have 10 or 12 bands playing. It was ridiculous. And we're basically all the bands are watching the other bands play, and a couple other people might show up. But we had a ton of fun doing it. But it was one of these shows that, out of the blue, a news van rolled into the parking lot from WSB-TV in Atlanta. This is the local ABC affiliate broadcasting the entire metro Atlanta area. So we met this reporter as she got out of the van. We're like, hey, what's up? What are you doing here? And she's like, well, we're going to do a story about local music, and we thought that we might film some of the stuff that's going on here today. And so me and the guys in my band, we're like, well, hell yeah, come film us. This would be great. And they did. They set up the camera in the back of the club. They filmed our entire set. And we really turned it on for the camera. I mean, we always had kind of an energetic show, but we really went all out on this one. And we're jumping around, and we're diving into the audience, and we're clowning on each other. I think we had our pants around our ankles for a couple of songs, which was not entirely unusual, but it happened. And so the whole time in the back of my head, I'm like, this is it. This is my step. This is going to take me to the next level. This is going to make me a star. Everyone who watches the news is going to see this and see our energetic set. They're going to hear the name of our band, and we will become famous. Ignore that. I got this. Don't worry about it. So a couple months go by, and there's no news story. We would take turns recording the 11 o'clock news every night because this is pre-DVR. So we're recording it, watching it, and no story happens. A couple more months go by. We recorded another tape. It had an even stupider name that I'm not even going to tell you. And the story never aired. And so fast forward, it's 96 or so. Our bass player, I wish this part of the story happened to me because it would make a better story, but it happened to the bass player, so I'm going to be honest. The bass player in the band, his name was Wilson, he gets off work one night, and it was late. He got home about 1 o'clock. And his dad was waiting up for him, and he was surprised. And the second he walks in the door, his dad just starts unloading on him. I knew it. I knew you were doing drugs. All this time you've been going up to Atlanta, doing this music thing. You've been doing drugs. I saw you on the news. I know that you've been doing drugs. And Wilson is like, what the hell are you talking about? He finally gets him to calm down and discovers that the footage that they filmed of our band that was supposed to be part of a local music segment, they instead used as the backdrop for a story about teenagers abusing herbal ecstasy. Now, herbal ecstasy, if you don't know, is like a gas station drug. It's like something that teenagers buy because they can't get real drugs. It has names like Cloud 9 and Ultimate Xphoria and things like that. It's basically ephedrine. It's like glorified caffeine, but I guess in the 90s, teenagers would like snort it or something. I don't know. I don't know if that's a good way to get high. I don't know if that's a way to get high at all, much less a good way to get high. But anyway, that's what they had used the footage of our band playing for. Instead of glorifying this awesome, Atlanta punk scene, they just threw us up on the screen to talk about teenagers doing stupid drugs. So needless to say, it did not take us to the next level. And by 97, the band kind of fizzled. We're all, we were still friends. We're still friends now. They're some of my closest friends even now. But the band never took off. And so I guess the moral of the story is listen to your guidance counselors, people. Always have a backup plan. Thank you.